¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome day. It is Friday Junior. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, Firex, Michael Hassner, welcome, everybody. Reading Representation. Gotcha. From Banned Books. Happy LGBT History Month, and coming out day is on October 11th. Alia with the 12 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. Let me make sure I got everything here. All right, folks, we're going to try to stay on time. Try to get this show started. Ground Level News, welcome. Howdy. Fun fact, Cornel West has left the Green Party and is running as an independent. Oh, man. Deeply unserious campaign. I don't know what's going on there. What do you want me to say? I don't know what's going on there. I don't know who's making suggestions in terms of like how to make campaigns, or who's advising Cornel West. But yeah. I still say, if he wanted to make a messaging campaign, he had all the, in my opinion, if he wanted to make a messaging campaign, he should have primaried Biden from the left. That's my opinion. And it seems like that was probably would have been his best move. I mean, like, first starting off with like the People's Party, a deeply I can't even really call it a political party, a deeply unserious organization. And then like to the Green Party, which is, I guess, better, but not great. And now independent. Yeah, he could have gotten his message out with all the debates. No, not in the non-existent debates. That was never going to happen. I've seen and heard more media coverage from candidates like Marianne Williamson and Bobby Kennedy than I have of, like, I don't know, like the Green Party, right? I'm just saying, from like a more platform perspective, I would try to get on the biggest one. And now, independent, have you? Yeah, definitely more than I have the Green Party. Definitely more than I have. I've seen more articles about just like any candidate, whether it's Republican or Democrat. I've seen more articles on them than I have on any other type of party, like, for example, the Libertarian Party or the Green Party or anything like that. Like, they just don't exist. They don't exist in terms of like how the media pays attention to them. It's a two-party system. If you're not a Dem or a Rep, you have no chance. Essentially. Plus, we're in that situation. What media has paid attention to Marianne? I certainly have seen articles about her. Other than Orb Mommy jokes. Well, she's written articles herself. Here's one from USA Today. Oh, come on. It's behind the paywall. Oh, here we are. This was a couple months ago. Student debt reparations and the environment. Marianne Williamson campaigns to end the status quo. By Rachel Looker. I don't know if she's, but yeah, no, she's had articles. This one's like the first one that I kind of like was able to find more or less just quickly. Here, I'll show you. Hold on. Where am I? Yeah, like this one was just written not that long ago, end of July or beginning of July. With ranked choice voting being adopted in more states, third party starts to become more viable. But if I was a third party man, I'd be advocating for ranked choice up and then up and down this country. I agree. I think that ranked choice voting is probably the more viable way of trying to get third parties to be more third parties more viable. There's a Cornel West article in USA Today from that same day. Is there? Well, I mean, there's other articles. That's true. I didn't see the USA Today, but there are other articles too. I just don't see what's gained from attacking anyone who decides to run. Well, I'm not attacking him. I'm saying that I think it would have been easier for him to primary Biden from the left. Personally, I don't think it matters, to be quite honest. It's not going to be easy to get all 50 states to change the way they vote, that's for sure. Personally, I don't think it matters. Even if West did decide to run, for the Democratic Party, chances are that's not going to happen. For all intents and purposes, there are no for all intents and purposes, there are no primaries of a sitting president. Incumbent advantage is too big to throw it away. Well, I mean, I still think that primaries should happen, right? Because, like, what if the sitting president is, like, I don't know, bad? At the very least, there should be primaries. Should, but don't. Yeah, well, that's true. I'm voting Cornell, but my state is locked in on the on orange. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters. I mean, many GOP, there is a primary, just no debates happening. Yeah. Echo Rusted Dragon, how's it going? I mean, many GOP candidates and debates. Trump is big mad. Yeah, but we're not talking about the GOP. That's a whole different other story. RFK's running as an independent now. RFK running independent is excellent for the Democratic Party. You think so? He's gonna pull conservatives over. They love that guy. How many, though? The same question can be asked of Cornel West, right? Like, how many? All of Bobby Jr.'s support are conservatives? Well, and the GNC is saying, what's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Biden, unless that changes. Well, yeah, that's an entirely different problem, right? The fact that a lot of older Dems like him. The fact that the DNC dictates what happens in a well, undemocratic fashion. That's a whole other problem, right? That's a whole other problem. I do not like a racist, anti-vax president. When he was on C-SPAN, every Republican caller loved him and every Dem caller was giving him shit about his anti-vax. Good. Good. So maybe it will be a problem for the GOP if he runs independent. Maybe that will be a negative for the GOP. I think it's more their problem than ours. Fine by me. The question being is how much is that going to be balanced out by West running independent? Right? Or is it not even going to matter? Because you're going to have the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, two independents, and I guess the Green Party candidate. Um. So who knows if that's if any of that's even gonna matter. If Mariano ran independent, it would be a bigger problem for the left. I feel like none of the third-party candidates are going to impact either major party this time around. Yeah, it seems like it because there's a lot of the field is a little bit wider this time around. He's backed by Bannon. Oh yeah, Bobby Kennedy. Yeah, that's all I needed. Yeah, that's all you need to know, really. Trump left his civil fraud case. You mean like he walked out? He might come to the Capitol for speaker. No, he can't be speaker. Um, we'll talk about that in a second. Well, Steve needs work. Trump barely pays. We'll talk about that in a second. People are pretty decided on which they'll vote for president. At this point, it'll come down to which side is more motivated to get out there and vote. And in 24, that's Democrats hands down. Are you sure about that? I'm a little worried on that end. I agree that a lot of people are pretty much like decided. I just don't know. I just don't know how much energy, or rather, if the Democratic Party can repeat, uh, repeat the same, repeat the same trick they did last time, right? Got a link, but is it reliable? MSN clickbait. Link about what? It's historically difficult to drum up the youth vote, but they seem more motivated this time around. Maybe. Trump's legal issues are going to continue to pile up, and as it does, it's going to depress his vote. Likewise, the Republicans constantly complaining about voter fraud depresses the vote. And the cherry on top now is that we have Republican House making an absolute fool out of themselves, showing their constituents that even if they do get power, what are they going to do with it? Well, true. But I don't think constituents care. The Republican constituents really care. I mean, I think maybe the whole voter fraud thing that might depress the vote, especially since they firmly believe that the 2020 election was stolen. Yeah, I think that might be a factor. But I don't think they care about how many cases. In fact, they think that it's a political stunt, right? They genuinely believe that this is like a political hit job. But yeah. Whereas the Dems, nothing gets us out into the streets like Trump, and that and abortion. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Abortion is once again a major part of this election, with Republicans seeking a national ban. Well, this article is just Biden's approval rating. Which is not great. Not great. So we'll see if that plays a factor too. I'm pretty far off from the election. No one's paying attention yet. On the normie side, I expect it to go up from here. Maybe. Maybe. T minus. Latest news about Trump and submarines at Mar-a-Lago. What? What does that mean? Submarines? They're a billion times. Polls are not votes. No, they're not. But certainly, if the polls don't look great for you, then that's not good, right? If the polls aren't looking good for you, then that's not good. That's not a good indication. If you're leading the polls with a double digit, if you're leading the polls by double digits, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good sign. It's like imagine leading the polls by double digits and still somehow managing to lose the election, right? That would be odd. Hillary has entered the chat. Well, the polls didn't the poll say that she would win the popular vote by X amount? That's assuming it's not the same people or people who change their mind or do not vote at all. Yeah, but still, it's the same concept. You don't think that you don't take the polls and say that this is exactly what's going to happen. However, you take the polls and you say, well, this is how things are looking, and we should probably adjust. Hillary was within the margin of error. Yep, that's true. Yep, that's true. So, again, polls are useful, and polls are pretty dang accurate, more or less, within the margin of error. So to say that like polls aren't votes, or to assume that people are going to change their mind or not, that's hypothetical. You just take the numbers as they come in. It was the dipshit pundits that made really bad predictions, true. They just underestimated how many non-voters were motivated by Trump. Yeah. There's also millions of 17-year-olds that will be able to vote next year. Nate Silver. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a while. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. No loss of Roe, she would have won. No loss of Roe, them's made it law anytime in the past 50 years. True. True. But I would imagine also The makeup of the Supreme Court would be different too. Gen Z is a factor, maybe. They never had the chance. I think they did. I well specifically remember, um, during the Obama years. I specifically remember that um, they had a supermajority, but they chose to forgo doing that because they thought that it wasn't important at the time. I forget what the excuse was that time. Um, then again, Obama had 60 senators seated for only 24 non-consecutive working days. If we had 60 senators now, we might be able to pull it off. Maybe. Maybe. And of those, there is a bunch of pro-life Dems. They like using it for fundraisers, and you have to vote for us or else. Right, but that exactly. So then the question becomes like, so is this an issue that you care about, or is this an issue that that you're just using as a political football? If you don't have the votes, you don't bring it to the floor, so you can fail in front of the nation. But that's the thing. I think that, like, if they had, for that moment, the supermajority, then why didn't they call, like, meetings behind closed doors and tell these, like, people, be like, hey, listen, okay? We need to get this done. We need to get this done, and it's going to benefit us. It was discussed. So then I go back to the question. Ultimately went for the ACA for the reasons I mentioned, not enough votes for Roe because Roe is considered settled law by both parties. They didn't even do a good job with that one. I don't know. It just sounds to me like they really screwed the pooch there. Anyone who truly believed that it was settled all needs to be laughed out of politics. Clearly it wasn't. Clearly it wasn't, because if it was settled law, it would be a law. Right? How naive do you have to be to trust the Republicans who have had this axe to grind for decades? You said, but even back in January before it was overturned, when I was warning that it could happen, people were still rolling their eyes and saying, "Yeah, it's not going to happen." That's unbelievable to me. The Republicans were talking about it for a very long time. The Republicans were talking about it for a very long time. And they even boasted about how they were going to do it. And then it happened. So I don't know where that, you know, um but no one believed them. I certainly did. I literally have videos talking about that. I was like, well, this election they're gonna get the justices in, and their plan is gonna be to do that. I mean, even when Trump was running, he literally said that that's what he was going to do. Um, Trump literally said, if I appoint Supreme Court justices, like the whole point of the whole goal was to get rid of Roe. So I don't know who who you were watching post that or say that, but nah. Opposing abortion has been a big part of growing Republican power since '94. Yeah, 100%. They've been talking about this for a while. They said how they were going to do it too. That's mind blowing. That is mind blowing. Even in the 80s, the religious right. Yep. Dems got complacent while the right kept quietly pushing further right for decades. Yep. If you got a link, you can send it to me. Anyways, yeah, if there's like I was trying to look through my video history, but yeah, it's incredibly naive to think that like, oh, we'll just trust the Republicans to think that that's settled law when it's not settled law. It's not in the books. Like, what's her face? Was that Susan Collins or Murkowski? One that was lied to? I mean, like, even Lisa Murkowski admitted that she felt like she was betrayed when she voted for Brett Kavanaugh. Susan Collins. Okay, yeah, hold on. Murkowski voted against Kavanaugh. She did? I think she expressed the same sentiment after it was returned that they felt betrayed. Isn't she the same one that Trump that said that Trump would learn his lesson? Yep. Yep. Yeah, it was it was Susan Collins. Yeah. Alaska has a sizable indigenous vote, and Kavanaugh has always been atrocious on indigenous rights. Gotcha. Funny enough, for some reason I thought she voted for Kavanaugh. She was not a smart one. Anyways, it's the same logic. Like, why would you believe these conservatives, right? Like, I don't understand. All right, folks, let's get started.
Sources telling me at this hour some House Republicans have been in contact with and have started an effort to draft former President Donald Trump to be the next speaker. And I have been told...
The circus continues, folks.
That President Trump might be open to helping the Republican Party, at least in the short term, if necessary, if it's needed.
Fallout from yesterday's vote to oust Kevin McCarthy as Speaker continues today, but the search for the next Speaker is already underway, with Sean Hannity reporting that Donald Trump is actually being floated as a potential replacement, at least according to his sources. Now, something tells me that the source in question here is just Donald Trump, because when Trump was asked about this, his response was nearly identical to what Hannity's source told him.
Would you take the job? A lot of people have asked me about it. I'm focused. You know, we're leading. I don't know you. I'm sure you don't read too much in the papers. But we're leading by like 50 points for president. You know, my focus is totally on that. If I can help them during the process, I would do it.
So, no, first of all, he's not leading for president for 50 points. He might be leading the primary, the Republican primary, by 50 points. But no, he's not leading for president. Like, I think that this dude just like wakes up and looks at the Republican primary polls and thinks that that's like how the election is supposed to play out. Because like that's not how this works. In no reality is Trump ahead of Biden by 50 points. Trump can't take the job, so it doesn't even matter. Republicans' own rules stipulate that the speaker would have to step down if they're indicted with a crime that would result in 2+ years. Exactly. That's true. But these are Republicans we're talking about. Well, technically, that's true. Republicans are not really known for principles. So, yeah. It can happen. It's a rule they can change to allow indicted people in. There you go. There you go.
So Trump is willing to, quote, help, but I don't know what that means. Are you saying that you would temporarily step in? Because that's not needed since there's already a temporary speaker. So what exactly does help look like with regard to your role here? And I don't think that he knows, but basically, once this was spoken into the universe, Republicans were very quick to get on board. Republican Troy Nell, for example, intends to nominate Donald Trump and claims that other Republicans are also willing to get on board, writing on Twitter, "Many America First patriots support my nomination of Donald J. Trump as the next Speaker of the House. I have personally spoken with Representative Luna, Greg Stube, Ronnie Jackson, Barry Moore, and many others. Let's make America and the House great again." But wait, there's more, because Marjorie Taylor Greene also endorsed Trump, saying, "The only candidate for Speaker I am currently supporting is President Donald J. Trump." She later added, "He has a proven 4-year record as President of the United States of America. He received a record number of Republican votes of any Republican presidential candidate. We can make him Speaker and then elect him President. He will make America great again." So he's got the coveted MTG endorsement. Shocker, I know.
Jesus Christ. Dude's really trying to do like the whole being appointed chancellor before becoming Führer for... Yeah. Wait, I've seen that before. You know that Leonardo DiCaprio meme? Hey, that one? Yeah, that's the meme I'm seeing right now. I've seen that one. An authoritarian that's being selected as a pretty like high up position and then becoming the head of state permanently. Well, I've seen that one before. Beetlejuice says she'll go with Jordan. Oh, I mean, like, if push comes to shove, probably. I mean, like, personally, I don't think that I don't think that Trump is actually gonna get anywhere in terms of like becoming the speaker. Like, it's just not a thing that's like happened before. I'm just saying, like, the logic and how that would play out is pretty eerie. It's pretty eerie, huh? Yeah, you can send me any links if you want, my whispers. We cannot let Trump become speaker. He would be next in line for VP after president. MAGA folks are just crazy enough to make him president. I guess this is one way of becoming president. No, I don't think he's actually gonna become speaker. I'm just saying that the parallels are incredibly eerie. The parallels are they're continuing to be very eerie. Jordan seems the most likely right now. Maybe, but even he's gonna have a very tough time becoming speaker. He's not exactly well liked. For the love of all things decent, did they bother wiping the shit from the list before reappearing in public to announce how much they kiss Trump's ass? No.
But what do more influential Republicans have to say about this? Because Jim Jordan, who also is considering throwing his hat in the race, was asked about this. And here's what he said.
Donald Trump has been contacted about possibly him being an interim speaker. Is that a reality?
I don't know. He'd be great, but I want Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States. If he wants to be speaker,
Well, he
great.
would still.
But,
Well, I'll be clear.
I want him to be
He'd
president
still
of the
run
United
for
States.
president.
I predict 5 rounds? You think so? The last circus show was like 15. And now they're even more in disarray than last time. I don't know. They seem to be in more disarray.
He's still going to be
I
running
want
for
him to be.
president. All right.
That's where we need him, is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. If he wants to be speaker, then that's fine, too.
Oh, Trump wants to run. Well, I was considering running myself, but I mean, I guess that if Trump wants it, then I'll happily step aside. Anything for Daddy Trump. In fact, Mr. Trump, if you're watching, sir, do you need me to wash your car or pick up your suits from the dry cleaners? Embarrassing. Now, the question is, can a former president who's not a member of the House become the speaker? And the answer to that question is yes. However, earlier this year, Republicans unknowingly adopted rules that would later disqualify Donald Trump. As HuffPost explains, there's a big problem with the GOP plan to make Trump the first non-member to wield the gavel, their own rules. Representative Sean Casten gave his Republican colleagues a reminder of Rule 26, which was adopted in January and states that any GOP leader indicted of a felony with a potential prison sentence of 2 years or more needs to step aside. Trump has been indicted on 91 felony charges, many of which carry potential sentences far above 2 years. So in other words, just when I thought that this shit show couldn't possibly get any more entertaining, Republicans of the past decided to hit their future selves with an Uno reverse card, and it is genuinely magical. And just so we're clear,
Just to be also clear, like, if push comes to shove, like, I don't think Republicans really give a crap about rules. It's just funny. Right? At this point, like, just watching these clowns just, like, trip over themselves, that's the funny part. For what it is. I don't think Jordan has any particular beef with any other members like McCarthy did. What might hurt him is the fact that he's besties with Gates, and nobody likes Gates right now. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's got it. I predict they do not get done before the government shutdown in 41 days. Sheesh. I mean, with this kind of circus going on, you might be right.
let's look at the rule before you cry fake news if you're a Trump supporter. Sean Casten tweeted a screenshot of it, which clearly states, quote, a member of the Republican leadership shall step aside if indicted for a felony for which a sentence of 2 or more years imprisonment may be imposed. But he didn't just pull this out of thin air. So if you go to the official Republican website, they list conference rules that they all voted on, by the way, which I'll link to down below. And if you scroll all the way down to Rule 26, you can see it right there. And the reason why I'm being extra scrupulous is because I already know that Trump supporters are going to come into the chat and scream fake news. But I mean, it's right there. It's linked down below. So see for yourself.
Oh, one problem. They don't care. You could literally show them receipts. They don't care. They don't care. And if that's the case, that they accept that that's part of like the rules, and they'll just be like, well, the Republicans in the House can change them anyways. I think IRA is thinking that they'll need another continuing resolution to the end of the year. You think so? It's quite possible. I mean, like looking at this circus that's happening right now, it's possible. Yes. Sounds like Jordan's strategy is to run out the clock until 1% across the board cuts kick in. If my mind could be blown, it would be every time I think these morons leave the country, the public elected them to office. Yeah.
Now, when Republicans in the House agreed to this rule package, Trump had not yet been indicted, nor had they anticipated a situation where they'd need him to serve as a potential House Speaker. But unfortunately for them, their own rules came back to bite them in the ass in a very big way.
I don't think they can read things that they don't agree with. Oh, true. It's funny.
Bad for them, because he was the only person who I actually think could unite all House Republicans. And after McCarthy was ousted, it's weird. You would think that they would lower their expectations since they have to find a consensus candidate, but it seems as if their standards have all gone up. For example, Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer supporting a speaker who pledges aid to Ukraine, even though she supported McCarthy. And yes, he did use Ukraine aid as a bargaining chip, but he still vocalized support for funding Ukraine. Now, additionally, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who also supports Trump as speaker, says that the next speaker must defund Jack Smith's investigations, subpoena Hunter Biden, and also bring an impeachment vote on Joe Biden to the floor, even though there's absolutely zero evidence of wrongdoing from Biden.
Yeah, I mean, like, but wasn't Kevin McCarthy already, like, working on that anyways? And how could you, could the House defund the DOJ? Like, how do you defund an investigation? Like, I could maybe understand, like, since Congress holds the purse, maybe they could defund, like, the Department of Justice, ? Maybe, which was like quite the impressive jump. So now we are against defunding the police, I guess. But I don't think Congress can defund an investigation. That's not how this works. Okay? I've never heard of that. Trump will still be winning anyway, speaker or not. Well, that's true. Law and order. There's 300 plus members of the House that support Ukraine, so she's definitely the minority with that opinion. Yep. The Senate hugely supports Ukraine as well. Yeah, but that's irrelevant when it comes to the speakership, right? The party of law and order. I did nothing wrong, and they indicted me.
And this is something that McCarthy himself didn't want to do because it would be an embarrassment to the GOP. So the hardliners are hardening their position when they should be softening it currently if they ever want to find a new speaker. Meanwhile, the pro-McCarthy conservatives are pledging to not support a candidate unless the anti-McCarthy Republicans lose their leverage. For example, Carlos Jimenez tweeted, "I'm not supporting anyone for speaker until there is a commitment to reform the motion to vacate. The coup against Speaker McCarthy was despicable and must never happen again. No one can govern effectively while being threatened by fringe hostage takers." And
hey, that's all you guys, okay? You guys made it this way, okay? And now you're complaining. What is it? The leopard ate my face. A tragedy. That's what's happening right now. There's always enough money. There's always enough votes for money going to weapon makers. True. True. That's something that will really result in very quick bipartisanship unity. That's true. The only thing soft is zero density substance between the years. No GOP members cannot play mini presidents. Well, no, they're not. They're trying to scramble and find a House Speaker.
I understand why he feels this way, but people like Matt Gaetz would never agree to that because the motion to vacate is what gave them so much power and leverage in the first place. So they're not going to just willingly give it up. And since you need their votes for the next speaker, you're kind of stuck, right? So they're at a stalemate. Both factions want things that the other faction does not want, and that's going to make it very difficult for them to all agree on one speaker. But we kind of just glossed over the fact that a Republican just accused his own colleagues of doing a coup against McCarthy. That is a very strong word to use. And he's not the only Republican who's pissed off. So here's what other Republicans said about the so-called hostage takers.
Those 8 people are anarchists, and they're Chaos Caucus members. And the fact of the matter is they get their power from the 212 Democrats voting with them all of the time. And so they have demands that nobody can meet.
There's just too many people who are willing to lie to our own voters and say, well, they didn't deliver. They refused to deliver. Well, it's like, explain the mechanism by which that delivery would have occurred, given the political reality we live in.
So they're anarchists. They're lying to voters.
Absolute ghoul, by the way. Gates says and acts like he's in charge of the U.S. House and wants power in the Senate in interviews. Oh, man. No. It seems like the one bit of like power is pretty much squandered now. Clearly the solution is to elect Hakeem the Dream as speaker. Now listen, I'm not a big fan of Hakeem Jeffries. However, just the thought of a Dem speaker, because like the other faction of the Republican Party, just despite the far right, just despite the other side of that civil war, of that Republican civil war, elects a Dem speaker. That thought in and of itself is hilarious. Okay, and Gates is gonna get Cawthorned. Gates doesn't want power; he wants attention. True, actually true. You know what? You're absolutely correct.
According to Dan Crenshaw. But I also have to play Chip Roy's comments that took place before the vote, because he literally threatened to fight Matt Gaetz, and I cannot get over that. Even if you've seen this, we've got to watch it again.
Come at me and call me a rhino, you can kiss my ass. Look, I've spent a lifetime fighting for limited government conservatism. I have laid it all on the line. I've not seen my family but for 2 days in the last 30 days. You go around talking your big game and you thumping your chest on Twitter? Yeah, come to my office and come have a debate, mother. You know why? Because I'm standing up for this country every single
Jesus. This is a good meme. All right.
day.
Still amazing to see that clip. So needless to say, most House Republicans are pissed that McCarthy was ousted. And in the propaganda sphere of conservative politics, they've also got some harsh words for Gaetz, along with the 7 other Republicans who voted to oust McCarthy.
They're traitors. All 8 of them should, in fact, be primaried. They should all be driven out of public life. What they did was to go to the other team to cause total chaos. We ought to be focusing on Biden. We ought to be focusing.
Listen, bro. This is all you're doing. You guys made what is it? You guys what's the saying? You guys made your bed, now lie in it. Okay? You guys made your bed, now lie in it.
Focusing on the
clowns running around are your clowns. Okay?
economy. We ought to be focusing on the border. Instead, you're going to get a week or 10 days of the media focusing on Republican disarray. It's an astonishingly destructive behavior by a handful of egocentric people who think they're superior to 96% of the conference.
And I do encourage all of the voters in Florida District Number 1, Matt Gaetz' district, to really vote him out of office. Send a message.
Someone left the GOP cake in the rain. Meanwhile, Biden is getting credit for building a chunk of the wall now. Yeah, which is, we'll talk about that, which is ridiculous. Like, why would you even, like, why are we even entertaining this idea? Like, this is quite honestly silly. To use an analogy Newt would understand, think of it as McCarthy getting cancer, so you gotta run out and find a new one. Oh, no. Jesus Christ.
That this type of behavior is uncalled for.
It's a good meme, though.
It's unnecessary.
So we're to the point where guests on Newsmax are calling on voters to vote out Matt Gaetz, a Republican, and on Fox News you have Newt Gingrich saying that everyone should view these 8 Republicans who voted to oust McCarthy as traitors. These are very, very strong words. But even though Matt Gaetz may be public enemy number one, and there's literally talks of Republicans expelling him from Congress, that's happening. I did a video about that. Check it out. This whole debacle has created really strange bedfellows. For example, earlier this year, Nancy Mace said this about Matt Gaetz' shenanigans.
How are you going to work with these folks to get anything done for the American people?
It's going to be very difficult. Matt Gaetz is a fraud. Every time he voted against Kevin McCarthy last week, he sent out a fundraising email. What you saw last week was a constitutional process diminished by those kinds of political actions.
Yeah. Well, fast forward to today, and she is now on Matt Gaetz' side because she is one of the 8 Republicans who voted to oust McCarthy. And she even joined him on his press tour to talk about this. But while she was on Steve Bannon's War Room, things got really awkward because she made enemies with lots of these people, and they remember.
I don't quite understand why so many people characterize our movement as, and by the way, people in
Ousting McCarthy from the center. True. Whose podcast are we watching? The Humanist Report. Yes. Everyone check out Gaetz' Twitch channel. I didn't even know he had one. Or maybe I forgot about it. Oh yeah, Nancy Mace's district is in trouble too. Likely going to get ungerrymandered. Nice. So it really should be Trump that gets the credit for that chunk of the wall. But fortunately, the right doesn't read. So Biden gets it instead. But isn't it his administration that's doing this? He's the one that's waiving. Well, not him, but his administration, his appointees, are the ones that are basically opening that door. Absurd. Maybe we'd all be better off if we all forgot about Gaetz' channel. I think so. Maybe that's why my mind locked it away.
Including the New York Times reporter you have sitting in the corner in the War Room right now. When they write about me, they say things like kaboom. They say things like hardliner, the hardliners.
Ultra mega.
Oh
ultra
yeah,
mega.
yeah. The far right.
Far right.
And I'm thinking, okay, look at.
Bro. Bro. It's the DHS approving this. It's the Biden administration getting the restrictions away so that it could happen. That's so funny. He doesn't think he's a trumpet or ultra maggot. No, he thinks. Yeah, I don't know. He I don't know. He lives in his own alternate reality.
Let's talk about this for a moment. Okay, Nancy is not a hard right, intransigent lawmaker, but our Venn diagram overlaps
Didn't you
around
vote
spending.
to send me to federal prison
I
for
like
4
the
months?
Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist.
Okay,
It's getting hot.
My appellate lawyer would.
If you're familiar with Matt Gaetz, he's floated the idea enough that Matt Gaetz, he's floated the idea that enough House Republicans are dumb enough that he could be Speaker. Matt Gaetz. I actually don't remember who this guy is. He's a political reporter that gets confused with Gaetz on Twitter a lot. Oh, he's from Media Matters. He's from Media Matters. Gotcha. He gets confused with Gaetz. Oh, okay. It's all making sense now. I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Yes, I agree. It's only funny if you've seen all the libs attacking him thinking it's Gates. No, I have not, but shame on them. That's hilarious.
Disagree about that, but that's not a
but
Did you see the look on her face? That was so awkward. I would be really uncomfortable if I were in that room. But I mean, Nancy Mace, she's choosing to align with people who she once made enemies out of. And that's not going to be a very non-awkward alliance, we'll say, for lack of a better word. But I mean, let's talk about what's happening right now, because I do think that it's important. First of all, the temporary speaker has been named by Kevin McCarthy, and that individual is Patrick McHenry, another McDipshit, if you will. And he seems to be out for vengeance.
A McDipshit. I love it. That's actually pretty funny. Heat, how's it going? Welcome. Read an article today that a woman had to change her name from Siri because the Apple voice assistant was ruining her life. Jesus. Matthew Gates the second. Doesn't Gates have a backup job on RSBN? Probably. Who knows?
So I do want to go back to yesterday before the vote took place, while debate was still happening, because he took a jab at Democrats because they didn't bail out McCarthy, because I guess he expected them to.
I understand where the liberals are. I know you support the constitutional order, except in a moment like this when you are questioned on that.
Holy crap. Did they really expect the Dems? Well, I mean, I guess. Because, like, let's be honest. The Dems, it would be a very Dem move. It would be a very, like, Democratic Party move to save McCarthy in the name of, like, protecting the institution or preserving the institution. Like, it would be a very, very Dem move to do that. So I understand. But, like, Republicans banked on it. Banked on that being the case, and it just didn't happen this time. Oh, man. That's hilarious. They actually expected the Dems to be like the Dems, you know? And like preserve and actually like do something like that in the name of preserving the institution and keeping like the government running or whatnot, which by the way, it's a completely like believable assumption, by the way. It's a completely believable assumption, right? We need a strong Republican party, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, like, it's a completely understandable and actually rational assumption. But it didn't happen this time. But seriously, why would any Dem vote to keep Kevin McCarthy as speaker when he was so awful and ineffective? Because, like, it would be a very Dem thing to do. To preserve, like, you know, the order and the institution, and to keep government going. And they banked on that, and they lost. That's it. And that's on top of that, Akril. On top of that, McCarthy tried to throw the Democratic Party under the bus by saying that they were the ones trying to make the shutdown, when in fact it was the Republicans. And then expected the Dems to bail him out. The Dems voted against him because it demonstrates the R's are in disarray. Well, maybe, but just like for this particular scenario, the Democratic Party took opportunity. If the Democrats trusted him to keep his word, they could have made a deal behind closed doors and have some Democrats vote president and then save him. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. And not because Democratic leadership is banking on a better speaker coming out in the end. No, I think they just I think that they did the right move in this scenario. There's no majority party at this time. Well, kind of. There are 3 parties right now. 3? The R's are not the majority of the House anymore because of them. Oh, you're separating. Okay, gotcha. I'm sure the GOP would have voted to keep Nancy in place of the Progressive Caucus united to oust her. No question in my mind that they would put country first. Wait, what? I'm sure the GOP would have voted to keep Nancy in place of the Progressive Caucus united to oust her. Wait, but that never... That... What? Don't forget the sarcasm. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, that... I don't know. Oh, okay. So in the reverse... In the reverse, no, they would not. In the reverse, they would not. I don't think the GOP would. I don't think the GOP would vote to keep Pelosi. If it was in the reverse, okay. No, they're making a hypothetical. They're making a hypothetical. And no, I don't think oh, that's your sarcasm? Okay. Yeah, no, I think even in the hypothetical, the Republicans would definitely not. But I would actually see a scenario where Dems would help McCarthy. I actually would see that in the name of like keeping the government going. That I would see. Republicans would not care. For sure.
I understand that. You can't be counted on in a moment like this with the state of the speakership.
Why would you expect Democrats?
Wah. And you could tell, like, this guy was... Is this the same guy that decided to yeet Pelosi out of her office? That the same guy?
To come to McCarthy's rescue in the first place. That's delusional. First of all, Republicans would never do the same for a Democratic speaker, regardless of what they're saying now. But why is it their job to bail out Republicans when the extremists that they've pandered to and emboldened for years have suddenly taken their party hostage? I mean, that's their problem, not the Democratic Party's problem. But McHenry seems to have an axe to grind, and on his very first day as acting speaker, he's already going after Democrats. As Politico reports, as one of his first acts as the acting speaker
Yeah, like, and to further things, like, yes. So what I'm going to do is make sure that the Democrats stay united against any like speakership that we choose, while unable to get a decisive victory in our own civil war that's happening here. Okay, yeah, it's gonna work out fine for you, buddy.
Representative Patrick McHenry ordered former Speaker Nancy Pelosi to vacate her Capitol hideaway office by Wednesday, according to an email sent to her office viewed by Politico. Now, the reason why this is seen as a diss to Pelosi is because former speakers usually get to stay in their larger suites for the rest of their time in Congress.
Yeah, it's Patrick McDipshit, yeah.
But McHenry is basically saying, you're going to have to get out because I want that room for myself. Now, this to me really is not that big of a deal, but what makes McHenry seem like a really big dick is the timing. And he can't control the timing, but the timing couldn't have been worse because Nancy Pelosi, she can't move her stuff right now because she's not in D.C. for a very good reason. Quote, sadly, because I am in California to mourn the loss of and pay tribute to my dear friend Dianne Feinstein, I am unable to retrieve my belongings at this time, she said. Now, she added, according to Ross Story, this eviction is a sharp departure from tradition. As Speaker, I gave former Speaker Hastert a significantly larger suite of offices for as long as he wished, she noted. Office space doesn't matter to me, but it seems important to them, Pelosi added. Now that the new Republican leadership has settled this important matter, let's hope they get to work on what's truly important to the American people. Now, on top of that, Jake Sherman of NBC News reports that Steny Hoyer was also kicked out of his hideaway office, and the GOP sources tell them to expect more. Now, yes, this does depart from tradition, but you're not automatically entitled to a bigger office because you used to be speaker. So I really couldn't care less about this. But
it's definitely a dick move. I mean, I don't really care. Okay, that's not the point. The point is that this dude's big mad. Big mad. And it's his fault. It's his fault. It's his party's fault. And he's taking it out on Dems. Which is phenomenal because, like, that's not going to work out. You guys can't even figure out what's happening within your own party. And you're definitely not going to be able to do anything without some Dem support.
But what interests me about this story is the sheer level of pettiness that we're seeing from Republicans. They are genuinely pissed off that Democrats did not come to bail out McCarthy.
Wah. Kick Clyburn out too. I don't care. Yeah, that's literally like it's not. It literally doesn't matter. It's just more owning the libs bullshit for their base. True.
And that's so on brand for Republicans, but just funny to see it play out in the way that they're doing this power move, right? But I mean, this is all temporary because McHenry isn't the permanent speaker, although it is possible that he's going to throw his hat in the ring. But
also, like, who cares? Do you think, like, oh, dude, Nancy Pelosi? Yes, truly, like someone who's incredibly wealthy. Yes, really gonna stick it to them by removing her big office to a slightly less bigger office. Like, whatever, dude. You're like straight up acting like children is what's happening here.
CNN's Manu Raju kind of gave us the most up-to-date report on who the likely candidates are and what to expect going forward. So let's watch.
So there are still some questions about the who exactly will run for the next Speaker of the House. There are several people who have been making phone calls to sound out their colleagues to see whether or not they have the support to replace Speaker McCarthy. Among those people in particular, Steve Scalise, who is the current number 2, the House Majority Leader. He is seen as a person that could possibly run here, as well as the House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, who told me yesterday that he is open to the possibility of running, or he didn't rule it out, and he's signaled to his allies that he could be open to the possibility of running. Also, Kevin Hern, who's a member of the Republican.
It's like when your children are fighting and you try to let them work it out on their own, and then one comes running to you like, Dad, why didn't you do something? Yep.
Study Committee. He's the largest conservative group in the House, has been talking to his colleagues as well, but others could also emerge. Patrick McHenry, who is now the interim speaker, is seen as a possible candidate as well, and they have to figure out the other candidates down the line. The majority leader position, something that the current Republican whip, Tom Emmer, could potentially go for, but the big question is who can actually get 218 votes in the House. That will all take place next week. First, the House Republican Conference will nominate someone to be the next speaker. That requires only half of the House Republican Conference, but then someone needs to be elected speaker, and that requires half of the whole House, 218 members. And with Republicans, that means that their person will face the same issue that Kevin McCarthy did, can only afford to lose 4 Republican votes on any party line measure, which means that the new speaker candidate, whoever that person may be, will have to ensure that the hardliners are appeased and those moderate members are appeased. But as you can hear from that clip we just played, there is just an enormous amount of frustration, tension.
Whew, yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to think that, like, maybe that's going to end up being the case, that they're not going to be able to coalesce around this. Heat with the 1 biddy, Alia with the 10 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Within the room, getting to consensus will be incredibly difficult for whoever the new speaker candidate is.
So Republicans are in an impossible situation where they have to find someone who can appease both the far right and the moderate wing of the Republican Party when they're currently battling each other, openly exchanging insults, threatening to fight one another, if you're Chip Roy at least.
While also trying to, like, take pot shots at the Democratic Party. Okay. Yep.
So it's going to be very difficult for them to all agree on a candidate. But there is an alternative. So they could try to find a consensus candidate that Democrats will support that will leave out the far right and allow moderates to kind of come up with someone who's not as firebrand, but nonetheless kind of shun these right-wing dipshits like Matt Gaetz and others. But I think that that's probably completely off the table, even for moderate Republicans. So odds are they're going to try to find somebody who all Republicans support. And if that is indeed the case, they're going to probably be deliberating for quite some time. And judging by how things have gone thus far, I'm assuming the process is going to continue to be a complete clusterfuck. So we're going to have to wait and see, though. But I, for one, am thoroughly enjoying the shit show, and I will continue to give you updates as they come.
Good meme. I'm checking on the news break. Is there breaking news? A bits party, yes. A bitty party. Thank you. All right, let's kind of just piggyback off that and continue. Continue the memes, all right?
Matt Gaetz might soon find himself charged with arson due to all of the bridges that he is burning with all of his former friends in the House of Representatives. In addition, of course, to successfully getting Kevin McCarthy ousted as the Speaker of the House this week, during the debate on kicking McCarthy out of the speakership, according to an NBC News reporter, Matt Gaetz also took a shot at Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, who is basically Matt Gaetz's best friend in Congress, was attacked by Gaetz himself. Here is what NBC News reporter Garrett Hawk had to say. He said, Gaetz really burning down the House. GOP around him responds to Jordan by saying oversight efforts, including their crown jewel Hunter Biden investigation, look like, quote, failure theater. Matt Gaetz accused Jim Jordan of engaging in failure theater with his Biden investigations. Now, look, I don't disagree with Matt Gaetz, and that is a very weird and almost painful thing for me to have to say. But when you've got a member of your own party who actually supports the inquiry, the impeachment inquiry into President Biden, when he's calling all of your actions failure theater, then I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems like, yeah, y'all got nothing. You'll continue to have nothing. And Matt Gaetz is just going to burn everything down around him for the hell of it? See, that's what makes no sense to me. I get Matt Gaetz being unhappy with Kevin McCarthy. He's been unhappy with him all year long. I understand calling out your Republican colleague for not coming up with the evidence you all swear exists to impeach President Biden. What I don't understand is you calling him out in public and at that moment. Why is Matt Gaetz burning everything down in the House? Like, what is in it for him?
Attention, maybe? Attention. Gotta revel in it a bit. Get it? I get it. I get it. Butthead on Beavis crime. True.
Knows he's not going to become speaker. He's admitted he doesn't even want to be speaker. He knows he's in a safe district, so he could probably keep getting reelected. He knows he does, however, have Republicans in the House that are talking about expelling him from Congress. So why is he engaging in this kind of self-destructive behavior? The answer might be more simple than you think. Matt Gaetz is looking for an exit strategy. Matt Gaetz, I think, wants to get the hell out of the House of Representatives, so he's just burning it all down because that's the kind of guy he is. Matt Gaetz, according to reports that have come out over the last week and a half or so, is actually eyeing potentially, running for governor of the state of Florida.
Oh.
Ron
That's what it is. He's trying to raise money. He's going to be trying to run for governor of Florida. Whew. I don't know how that's going to work out for him. A school shooter is getting traction on TikTok and taking backlash from those who think he shouldn't have a platform. Like a school shooter who was released from prison? Most likely? You think so? Oh, man. Well, I don't know. The Florida Dems are pretty weak.
DeSantis, of course, has, he'll be out of office in, 2026 will be the next gubernatorial race here in Florida. DeSantis is term limited, so it'll be an open field. And Matt Gaetz thinks, you know what? Maybe I'll just do that. So I can piss off all these people in the House because they don't matter. I can make it seem like I'm the guy fighting for the American public and the House is so dysfunctional that I don't need to be here anymore. I'll just go run the state of Florida. And the voters in Florida, by the way, will believe that. They'll look at what's happening in the House and they'll be like, yeah, Gaetz is right. It's so dysfunctional. They'll ignore completely the fact that he is literally the one pushing most of the dysfunction. And then they'll vote for him, and Matt Gaetz will be the next governor of the state of Florida, and then he'll run for president, and we'll see what happens from there. That is Matt Gaetz' trajectory, and that is why he doesn't care. In fact, it's not that he doesn't care that he's burning down the House. That's why he has to burn down the House, because it provides him cover to engage in his exit strategy to run for governor of Florida. Hey, everyone. This is Aspen.
Oh, man. Well, I guess torching the Republican Party at the national level in the process, I guess. Florida's gerrymandered like crazy. True. All right, folks, let's switch gears really quickly.
So I do have chronic asthma. I have a very high allergy to bee stings and kale. So I have anaphylactic shock. So I am prescribed EpiPens. For a 2-pack of EpiPens right now, with my insurance, I'm looking at $553 with the EpiPens. Probably 2018 was the last time that I refilled it, just because the cost has gotten so out of control.
This is Chris Garcia. There are among a growing number of Americans who are making the difficult decision to stop buying life-saving medications like EpiPens and inhalers because of skyrocketing costs.
43 million Americans are at risk for anaphylaxis. They must carry EpiPens everywhere they go.
The injectors on those EpiPens need to be replaced each year, and those costs are soaring.
The biggest, I think, fear, is my next medical emergency gonna financially bankrupt not just me, but like my kids?
That's just wild. Like the fact that anybody, like in a normally functioning society, has to even like have that thought process is freaking like wild to me. And it's embarrassing considering like the country that we live in, supposedly how much like wealth and resources we have, and like there are people, and he's not the only one. There are people that literally think about this all the time. They have to. Anyway, to lower the EpiPens, yeah, it's called not letting it be a for-profit system. The same with insulin, yeah, 100%.
Going to dictate their future? Are they going to get stuck with my medical bills?
Why does it cost so much for relatively simple devices like EpiPens and inhalers that have existed for decades? To find the answer, we went back to the 1980s when Congress passed a law that locked out competition and created monopolies.
1980s. Ronald Reagan. End capitalism. That's right. Cap on insulin costs and drug price negotiations.
Over critical medical devices that people like Chris depend on to survive. And in the process, we found some good news. That could mean pharmaceutical executives are finally held liable for their crimes. In 1985, President Ronald Reagan signed into law a bill that reshaped the pharmaceutical industry in America. This law is commonly known as the Hatch-Waxman Act. The point of the act is to encourage generics to enter the market. So generic drug companies are granted access to the branded company's research, and in return for that access, brand name drugs get the exclusive right to produce and market a new drug for a specific period of time.
The whole idea was to kind of create this balance between getting drug companies to invent new medicines, and so they had those kind of incentives, but also giving incentives for generics to enter the market. Generics are very important for the market because when generics enter, if, like for example 5 or more generics enter, prices can drop at 90%.
The only issue? Hatch-Waxman requires that generics trying to enter the market don't infringe on any of the branded companies' existing patents. The FDA keeps track of this through something called the Orange Book, which lists approved drugs that have existing patents. Because drug companies can easily abuse the patent system by expanding existing patents without changing much at all, the Orange Book has been a tool used by big pharma.
That's just wild. Sorry, I gotta run. We just got to California. See ya. Thank you so much. I appreciate you stopping by. Eli Lilly to cut insulin prices, cap costs at $35 for many people with diabetes. Yeah, but it shouldn't like be that way. It shouldn't be that way. Like, we shouldn't depend on like the good nature of these companies to do that. It really shouldn't.
Pharma to stifle competition and drive prices up.
Here's what happens with the Orange Book. A drug company gets a patent, and that patent, as you know, lasts for 20 years from discovery or 10 years from the time it goes on the market. That's all fine. But somebody comes along and says, well, now I think the patent is expired, so I want to do a generic. All sounds great, right? Except the FDA does not watch the drug companies on what they list or what timing they list. And they just, in effect, count on the drug companies to be entirely truthful about those patents. And what we've discovered is the drug companies are not truthful. So they will list the wrong dates. They will list things under patent that are not under patent. They will expand the patents they have. Why? All to fight off the folks who are doing the generics.
Companies are using the patent system in order to delay competition from coming in. So for example, a generic company that might want to bring in a lower cost version of a drug with an inhaler or a device might not be able to because pharmaceutical companies, the branded ones, are using the patent system to block them or make arrangements and deals that might delay them from coming into the marketplace.
Here's a real-world example of how this works.
Wow, phenomenal. Capitalism is works great. Works great. You know, I love listening to stories of how people have to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for medication that actually is like life-saving. For the sake of the market, we have to protect these companies' patents or whatever the heck. That's just nonsense. All kidding aside, like, how dystopic is it that that's like a thing? How dystopic is it that you're telling us this story about paying $600 to get your wife a 30-day prescription of something that she needs? It's not negotiable. This is not negotiable. Because reasons. Thank you for the follow, by the way. It's even more infuriating because we often pay for the research and development of these new drugs, we as the taxpayers. Yes, that's true. That's very true. That's true. So we like we get screwed in so many different ways.
Take a look at these two devices. This is the very first FDA-approved EpiPen patent from 1987. And this is the most recent patent from 2017. Despite over 3 decades of development and multiple owners, the patent design remains virtually unchanged. Because of the rules in the Orange Book, the minor changes that have been made have been used to lock competition out and drive prices up. Mylan, the current owner of EpiPens, took over in 2007, and since then, the price of EpiPens have skyrocketed, even though the technology has barely changed.
What companies have started doing is they just started listing devices on there. The Hatch-Waxman Act says that's not supposed to happen. You're only supposed to list things that have the active ingredient in it.
The Orange Book takes on this powerful authority to fend off the competition that is exactly the competition we wanted to see in the drug industry.
And it gets worse. The Orange Book says if there's any possibility that a generic could be infringing on a branded drug, the original brand can sue.
A court litigation process starts, and that's
yeah. So this is a massive problem, right? Like, you're not having like competition for like things like TVs, or whatever. These items are not negotiable. These are life-saving drugs that you need. This is part of healthcare. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these problems. You can't leave these kind of things in a for-profit system, because obviously, clearly, the prime directive here is to make profit. Okay? Is to make profit. They're not. They don't care. They don't care how many lives they saved with an EpiPen or whatever. They're making sure that nobody can steal their profits. They're lobbying to make sure that that remains the case. You are just a paying customer. That's it. But unfortunately, when it comes to things that are non-negotiable, like healthcare and life-saving drugs, it's a problem. It's a problem. I've had to have a week of infusions every month. Went on for 2 years. Price was $18K a month. We have great insurance, and it only costs us $6K a year for copays. I mean, that's still rough. That's still pretty rough. Like, even if we just divide like 6,000 by 12, yeah, like a cereal said $500 like, just generalizing the math, $500 a month is not nothing. How many people can like incur a $500 expense a month, and be okay? We reach a 5K out of pocket maximum every year, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. Everything for the rest of the year should be zero cost. Yay? Ooh, present by already discounted 10 meds. The drug lobbyists are not relenting. Yeah, well, the problem here is like capitalism, right? The problem here is that capitalism is the one that's driving this, right? That's what's driving this.
Bans any kind of entry until 30 months. As a result of that, the branded industry started developing new strategies. Like with any law, you start to create new games and new ways of actually finding the loopholes.
Big pharma manufacturers use what is known as pay-for-delay arrangements to keep generics from entering the market.
If a generic wanted to come in, you've got all these patents, you can't litigate through them. The branded company will say, well, I'll pay you $2 billion to stay off the market, or to delay your entry for another year or 2 years. So the longer they can delay a generic coming in, that's an extra revenue generator. So it pays to get those patents. Think about it. Probably costs about $40,000 to file for a patent. It costs you millions to litigate it. And the longer you delay someone, you're making millions, billions even.
They get their patents and they have a lock on it, and it doesn't allow for competition. It allows them to keep the prices as high as they want, and it's not something like I can say, yeah, this isn't something I need. This is something I can walk away from.
So this is how the whole system's working. Because of the pressure of Wall Street and shareholders, pharmaceutical companies have moved from just being companies that want to actually develop drugs to essentially becoming money machines.
I mean, that's what a company is. My brother in Christ, what did you think these people were talking about in board meetings? Were they talking about how good and how many people they saved with their product? No. They talked about how much profit they made that quarter and how and what it's going to take to make more profit the next quarter. Okay? It's always been that when it comes to a private company that's a for-profit company. That's it. That is the beginning and end of that conversation. I went to the doctor earlier this year and they suggested I should take some vitamin D tablets and they gave me 6 months worth after 2 blood tests. It cost a bus fare to get there. Jesus. Benevolent greed. Not even. Just greed. There's nothing benevolent about it. Just greed.
One thing is clear. The industry needs to change. Activists and lawmakers are pushing for new regulation that would reduce drug prices and open up more of the market to generics.
The FDA has not done nearly enough to deal with patent abuses, and understand this, that means the American people are paying. We pay every time we go to the pharmacy and have to shell out more money. We pay every time our insurance premiums go up, and we pay through our taxes. Through the fact that Medicare, for example, is paying more, Medicaid is paying more than they otherwise would have to pay. So the abuses that big pharma engage in cost every one of us real money.
In 2021, President Biden signed an executive order to improve competition and reduce prices for prescription drugs. But advocates say that federal government can and should be doing more.
Well, there's a lot that the FDA could do. The FDA, they could really go back to what the intention was of the Hatch-Waxman Act. There's a lot of ways that they're implementing it in a much broader way than they should be.
This means rewriting the rules of the Orange Book and ensuring oversight to prevent patent misuse and price gouging and allow more generics to enter the market. It also means holding the FDA accountable for the patents they allow to enter the Orange Book.
So what I did is wrote a letter to the FDA and said, you guys need to be monitoring what's happening in the Orange Book.
Yeah, it's like £450 for the bus now. It's crazy. Jeez. Ours complain all the time about Medicaid costs, but vote against bills that would reduce Oh yeah, they don't. Do I ask a terrible question not to be a conspiracy theorist? Well, what question is it? In all seriousness, despite the Scottish government's iffy policy record of late, they did at least pass a law that allows under 22s to travel on the bus for free. Nice.
You need to force these drug companies to move back their description of the patent to the narrower thing they actually have the patent on instead of some expanded view of it. You need to put some penalties in place if they are deceiving the public.
On September 14th, the Federal Trade Commission finally took action. The commission issued a warning to brand name drug manufacturers that they could face legal action for improperly listing patents in the Orange Book. After decades of patent abuse by Big Pharma, this is a historic step. Finally, pharmaceutical executives could be held criminally liable for inflating the price of life-saving medications.
The industry has learned how to make it beneficial for itself, and we need a severe course correct to get it back on track.
For millions of patients like Chris, this issue is critical.
I think it's really urgent. The inflation, the enormous debt that the pandemic caused, I think it's more urgent than ever for people to be able to afford their medications.
Thank you so much for watching our video.
There's a lot of videos on YouTube these days of Americans reacting to Scotland baby boxes. It's a little weird to see people amazed by like basic things. What's that? Oh, where you literally like... Is that a box of stuff you get as a new parent? Every newborn is entitled to a baby box that comes with all the essentials that a family would need for the first little bit of getting home and settling in. And the baby can sleep in the box too. It comes with a little cushion thing. What? That's not a thing here. I've never heard of that. My question is, if someone becomes a customer for 20 years, that's not enough? Like a customer of what? The pharmaceutical company? There shouldn't be customers. My question is, if somebody becomes a customer for 20 years, that's not enough? For medical, a procedure, a product? Well, that's the thing. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't be a customer, right? Like, that shouldn't be a question in terms of like how we operate healthcare. That should never be a question. It should just be like, oh, hey, I need this medication. I need this medication. I pay taxes. So yeah, I should just go to the pharmacy and be able to get that medication. That should be the beginning and end of that story. Half the U.S. only cares about babies until birth. After that, it's every person for themselves. True. There's a reason that the U.S. has such a high infant mother mortality rate for a Western country. True. I looked up baby boxes and like in the US, I looked up baby boxes in the US. It gave me like where you can drop off your baby. Cardboard box includes a mattress that can be used for babies to sleep as an alternative to a crib. That's wild. That's wild. After 8 years, you can be buried in the same box. I don't think that's what the purpose of that is. Imagine having a government that cares about its citizens. True. Massachusetts charges at least $1,000 a month for childcare, but pays the workers barely enough to live. Yep, that's a capitalism problem. Said it before, I'll say it again. The American dream is to leave America. True. The way I see it is it's a fairly inexpensive thing for the government to provide, but it means that there's so much less chance of accidents or harm coming to kill when their parents can't afford some basic stuff. So it means less cost to society later on. Yeah, I mean, like, and it's also just like the right thing to do, you know? But yeah. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you expect your government to do if you're like, you know, if you're paying tax money This is exactly the kind of stuff that like your government should be investing in, right? If you want the American dream, move to Denmark. All right, folks. Shifting gears. Domestic terrorist with a handgun seeking Governor Tony Evers arrested returns later with a rifle. A man illegally brought a handgun into the Wisconsin Capitol, demanding to see Governor Tony Evers, and returned at night with an assault rifle after posting bail. You know, this is a funny, like, factoid here, given the fact that, like, Hassan and Cenk Uygur were debating cash bail. But, okay. This just shows that, like, Hassan was correct here. If the judge had discretion, if it would be a situation where the judge had discretion, this dude shouldn't have been allowed out. There would be no bail option for this type of person. The man who was seen shirtless and had a holstered handgun approached the governor's office on the first floor of the Capitol around 2 p.m. The State Department of Administration spokesperson Tatiana Warwick said the man demanded to see the governor, who was not in the building at the time. Warwick said a Capitol police officer sits at a desk outside the suite room that includes the governor's office, conference room, and offices for the attorney general. The man was then taken into custody for openly carrying a firearm in the Capitol, which is against the law. Weapons can be brought into the Capitol if they're concealed and the person has a valid permit. That doesn't make sense. Okay. So you want people to carry weapons inside the Capitol building of the state as long as they're hidden. What? The man arrested did not have a concealed carry permit. The man was taken into custody for openly carrying a firearm in the Capitol, which is against the law. Warwick said weapons can be brought into the Capitol if they're concealed and the person has a valid permit. The man arrested did not have a concealed permit. The incident is just the latest in a series of violent threats against public officials. Evers, which is a Democrat, was on a hit list of a gunman suspected of fatally shooting a retired county judge at his own Wisconsin home in 2022, last year. Others on that list included Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Whitmer was the target of a kidnapping plot in 2020. Warwick said no immediate changes to security in the Capitol or for the governor were planned. The public has free access to Capitol daily from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and there are no metal detectors. Yeah. I need to know why he was shirtless. I don't know. If you're showing up to the Capitol, building with a firearm demanding to, I don't know, see the governor, yeah. I don't know if we're going to find a lot of logic behind that. All right, so this is the article that we were talking about. The Biden administration waived 26 federal laws to allow the border wall construction. The Biden administration announced that they waived the 26 federal laws in South Texas to allow the border wall construction on Wednesday, making the administration's first use of sweeping executive power to pave the way for building more border barriers, a tactic used often during the Trump presidency. DHS posted this announcement on the U.S. Federal Register with few details outlining the construction in Stark County, Texas, which is part of the busy Border Patrol sector seeking high illegal entry, according to the government data. About 245,000 illegal entries have been recorded in this region during the fiscal year. There's presently an acute and immediate need to construct a physical barrier and roads in the vicinity of the border of the U.S. in order to prevent unlawful entry into the U.S. in the project area, said Alejandro Mayorkas, DHS secretary, stated in this notice. The Clean Air Act, Safe Drinking Water Act, and Endangered Species Act were some of the federal laws waived by the DHS to make way for construction. That's messed up. Cool. Nice. To make way for construction, it will use funds from congressional appropriation in 2019 for border wall construction. The waivers avoid time-consuming reviews and lawsuits challenging the violation of environmental laws. So the funds, as I believe somebody was talking about 2019. So the funds were appropriated in 2019, but I guess now they're deciding that they're going to use it. I don't. Mexico ain't paying. No. I don't understand the reasoning for this politically. I don't know, because like what basically they're saying is like now the right wing is going to take this and say like, see, even Sleepy Joe knows that a wall needs to be constructed. Even Sleepy Joe. Although no maps were provided in the announcement, a previous map shared during the gathering of public comments showed the piecemeal construction will add up to additional 20 miles to the existing border barrier system in the area. The other concern is that we have is that area is highly erosive. There's a lot of arroyos, said Stark County Judge Eloy Vera, the highest elected official in the county, pointing out the creeks cutting through the ranch land and leading into the river. Stark County is home to 65,000 residents that spread over 1,200 square miles that include the ranch land as part of Lower Rio Grande Valley National Wildlife Refuge. Environmental advocates say structures will run through public lands, habitats of endangered plants and animal species like the ocelot and a spotted wild cat. A plan to build a wall through will bulldoze an impermeable barrier straight through the heart of the habitat. It will stop wildlife migration dead in their tracks. It will destroy a huge amount of wildlife refuge land, and it's a horrific step backwards for the borderlands. Yeah, like this is pretty messed up. This is pretty messed up. Feels like they're trying to buy votes from the right, but by also pissing off environmentalists on the left. Like why? I don't know. Makes no damn sense. It makes no sense. Yes, horrific step backwards for the borderlands, said Lycan Jordao, a Southwest conservation advocate for the Center of Biological Diversity, said on Wednesday. During the Trump administration, about 450 miles of barriers were built along the southwest border between 2017 and 2021. Texas Governor Greg Abbott renewed those efforts as part of his ongoing immigration enforcement from the state level after Biden administration initially halted them at the start of his presidency. DHS decision on Wednesday contrasts the Biden administration's posturing when a proclamation to end the construction on January 2021 stated building a massive wall that spans the entire southern border is not a serious policy solution. U.S. Customs Border Protection had no immediate comment. The announcement prompted political debate by the Democratic administration, facing an increase of migrants entering the southern border in recent months, including thousands who entered the U.S. through Eagle Pass at the end of September. A border wall is the 14th century solution to a 21st century problem. It will not bolster border security in Stark County, said U.S. Representative Henry Cuellar in a statement that continued to stand against the wasteful spending of taxpayer dollar on an ineffective border wall. Political proponents of the border wall said that the waiver should be used as a launching pad for shift of policy. There you go. There you go. After years of denying that a border wall and other physical barriers are effective, DHS announcement represents a sea change in the administration's thinking. A secure wall is an effective tool for maintaining control of our borders, Dan Stein, president of the Federation for American Immigration Reform, said in a statement. Having made that concession, the administration needs to immediately begin construction of a wall across the border to prevent illegal traffic from simply moving through the areas of the border. Yeah. So, like, what the Biden administration is basically saying is that their immigration policy is, like, indistinguishable. Like, at this point, it's getting very, very hard to distinguish between, like, the Biden administration's immigration policies and the Trump administration. That's not good. That's not good. All right, we'll do this real quick off topic. Breaking down Trump's chances for prison skyrocket as bombshell report reveals a recklessly discussed sensitive intelligence about a U.S. nuclear submarine with a foreign billionaire at Mar-a-Lago, and it gets worse. According to sources familiar with the matter, Trump shared the submarine information with Australian billionaire, who then shared it with scores of others, including at least a dozen foreign officials. If that's true, that's A, not surprising, and B, yeah, in an ideal world, that would get him in a lot of trouble, but who knows? We'll see how that goes in the trial. It's not looking good for Biden. No, that doesn't look good at all. That doesn't look good at all. But we will end in a small W win. Court picks new Alabama congressional map that will likely flip one seat to Democrats. A federal court has picked Alabama's new congressional map, which will likely result in an additional black and Democratic member in the delegation. The new map came after the same panel of federal judges twice found that the lines drawn by the GOP-dominated legislation likely violated the Voting Rights Act by weakening the power of black voters. The new lines will be used for at least the 2024 elections, the state's Republican Secretary of State said on Thursday, although Alabama Republicans have vowed to fight them for future cycles. The map gives greater electoral power to black residents who make up about 1/4 of the state population. It will very likely mean Republicans lose one seat in their thin majority, imperiling their already tenuous hold on the lower chamber even before battleground districts come into play. With this new fair map, for the first time ever, black voters in Alabama could have two members of Congress representing their interests at the same time, said Eric Holder, the former Democratic Attorney General who now helms the party's redistricting arm, said in a statement. Holder's organization was involved in the lawsuit that ultimately brought about the new maps. Alabama is the first state in this year to get new congressional lines, but others, including North Carolina, are expected to be redrawn by the end of the year. The map was chosen today, by a panel of 3 judges. Circuit Judge Stanley Marcus had been appointed to the post by President Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. District Judge Anna Manasco, Terry Moore, both appointees of Trump, and the map was one of 3 drawn by a court-appointed special master after a long-running legal battle that reached all the way to the Supreme Court. The new map results in one majority black district and one in which black residents make up just under half of the population. Both districts were designed to give black voters a direct opportunity to elect their preferred member of Congress. As a result, voters in both have a strong likelihood of electing black Democrats to Congress. The lines used in 2022 midterms are redrawn by the GOP-dominated legislature following the decennial census, and had one majority black district out of the state's 7. That district was represented by the only Democrat in the congressional delegation, Terry Sewell. The new map largely maintains Sewell's 7th district. It creates a second opportunity district for black voters by transforming the state's 2nd district into one that runs across the state. The map chosen by the court on Thursday was one of 3 put forward by a court-appointed special master. The new 2nd district has a black voting age of population of just under 49%. The new line's in danger. Representative Barry Moore, whose district is transformed from one that was solidly Republican to one that's much more Democratic. Moore recently said that his family are seriously praying about the next move, and he would make a decision once the map is finalized. Yeah, you keep doing that. North Carolina, Bama, that's right, is orange except for the governor. One possibility is that Moore runs in a primary against GOP Representative Jerry Carl in the Alabama's 1st district, which is now drawn to include Moore's home. Carl said last week that he would seek re-election at first, setting up the potential for an intra-party fight there. In an interview last week, Alabama Democratic Party Executive Director Tom Meyer said that there was a handful of candidates that could get in the race in the new 2nd district. He's saying that he expected a really healthy primary. He named 5 black politicians as potential candidates: Montgomery Mayor Stephen Reed, Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin, State Representative Napoleon Bracey, and State Senator Kirk Hatcher and Merica Coleman. Stilwell is expected to run again in her district, but she may face a primary challenge as well. State Minority Leader Bobby Singleton, who is one of the plaintiffs in the case that led to the lines being tossed, has floated a run, telling the Alabama-based 1819 News that he has created an exploratory committee for a run. Alabama Republicans have been fighting the forced redistricting process tooth and nail, losing twice in front of the Supreme Court. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court affirmed the initial lower court's order that the tossed GOP-drawn map, a surprise to many court watchers who expected a conservative-leaning majority to use the case as an opportunity to weaken the Voting Rights Act. The GOP-controlled state legislature was giving another opportunity to draw lines, yet ignored a court directive to draw either 2 majority black districts or 1 majority district and one very close to it. The 3-judge panel then angrily tossed out the new legislative drawn lines, appointing an expert to draw the new map, setting up Thursday's decision to pick this one. Alabama Republicans asked for an emergency order from the Supreme Court to step in and block the court from drawing the lines. The nation's highest court declined to do so, a loss for Republicans. At the time, State Attorney General Steve Marshall, a Republican, acknowledged that this means the court-drawn map will certainly be used for the 2024 cycle. Republicans are prepared to challenge this new court map now that it's finalized, but it's unlikely that any challenge would be resolved in time for the next election. The Office of Secretary of State will facilitate the 2024 election cycle in accordance with the map the federal court has forced upon Alabama and ordered us to use. Yeah, get wrecked. Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen, a Republican, said in a statement, "It is important for all Alabamians to know that the legal portion of this process has not yet been completed." Other states may also get a new congressional map soon. Similar court arguing for more black representation are ongoing in other southern states, including Louisiana and Georgia, and new maps may emerge by the end of the year. Other states with impending racial gerrymandering cases should view this map and this process as both an example of basic fairness and warning that denying equal representation of black voters, violating the Voting Rights Act, and defying federal court orders is a direct tie to an odious past and will no longer be tolerated, said Holder, the former Attorney General. And 2 big other states may also redraw their lines. North Carolina, a newly conservative state Supreme Court, said it would not police partisan gerrymandering this year. Now GOP supermajorities in the legislature are set to soon redraw political boundaries to benefit their party. A new congressional map may be revealed as soon as next week and could see the 14-seat delegation go from an even partisan split to as many as 11 GOP seats. And in New York, Democrats are challenging the court-drawn lines that resulted in a very competitive map. Republicans ultimately carried 11 of the state's 26 districts, but should Democrats in the state get a chance to redraw maps to benefit themselves, as many as 6 of those GOP states could be held seats could be in play. Well, we'll see how this ends up, because given the fact that the razor-thin majority in the House is, the way it is, there could be a scenario where Democrats might actually be close or be able to flip the House. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not out of the realm of possibility. All right, folks, we made it. We made it. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Join us on social media. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to support the channel but cannot do so monetarily, make sure you head on over to the YouTube channel. It really does help us out. Spread the word far and wide. We are here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Alio. Thank you, Virex. Thank you, James Nappertandy. Thank you, Assyrio. Whistle. Thank you, the Simulacra. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Wolfglen. Gary Bennett, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for mixing it up in the chat. The Ponder Monkey, thank you. Thank you all. Conscious Canuck, thank you for mixing it up in the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, folks, as always. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Alviano, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Heath. Thank you, Michael Hassler, for keeping it chill in the chat, as always. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See you. All right, folks. SV Harkin, thank you. Have a good weekend. Hang tight, everybody. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.